You don't need to announce everything you're doing. In fact, the more you talk, the less you do. That's the hard truth most people don't want to hear. They think if they just tell enough people about their goals, their business idea, their transformation, somehow it'll make it more real, but it doesn't. It only gives away your energy before you've earned the result. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, your brain gets a little reward as if you've already done it. That's why talkers often feel accomplished before they've even taken the first step. And that's dangerous, because the applause they seek replaces the grind they should be embracing. Today, I'm going to walk you through the powerful habit of keeping your mouth shut and letting your actions speak. I'll show you why silence is your greatest ally, how oversharing slows you down, and how the people who build real success rarely feel the need to explain themselves. This isn't about hiding, it's about focusing. It's about staying grounded, doing the work, and showing up strong when the time is right. Stay with me for the next few minutes as I break down the discipline of silence that builds empires. Let's dive in. Number 1, stop talking, start doing. Here's something that'll sting a little, but it's the truth. Most people talk too much and do too little. They talk about their big goals, their next move, their 5-year plan, but when you check in a year later, nothing's changed. Why? Because talking became their substitute for doing. See, when you talk about your goals, your mind rewards you with a sense of satisfaction, like you've already made progress. But you haven't. You've just released the pressure. The hunger's gone. The urgency fades. And now, the real action never happens. You know who gets ahead? The one who keeps their mouth shut, keeps their head down, and puts in the work. The ones who show up early, stay late, and let the results speak for them. They're not on the phone telling 5 friends what they plan to build. They're building it. They're not announcing their next move. They're making the move, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. You've got to understand this. Every time you speak about what you intend to do, you're spending energy that should be used to get it done. That energy is valuable. Protect it, direct it. Don't waste it trying to impress people with what's coming soon. They'll believe it when they see it. And if they don't, that's not your concern. You're not here for approval. You're here to build. If you want to change your life, zip your mouth and move your feet. Don't just say you're going to write that book. Write 1 page. Don't just say you're starting a business. Make the first sale. Don't talk about discipline. Wake up early and prove it to yourself. Progress doesn't come from promises. It comes from action. And here's the beauty of it all. When you stop talking and start doing, the right people will notice. You won't have to convince anyone of your value. Your consistency will speak louder than any words ever could. The world listens to results, and results come to those who grind in silence. So from this moment on, cut the speeches short. Let others talk. You build, you show, you arrive. Not with a parade, not with a banner, but with quiet, undeniable proof that while others were talking, you were doing. Number 2, no one's coming to cheer you on. Here's a tough pill to swallow. Nobody's going to hand you a round of applause for working hard. Not in the beginning. Not when it matters most. When you decide to level up your life, whether that means building something new, changing your habits, or chasing a bold goal, don't expect a crowd cheering you on, because most of the time, there won't be one. It'll just be you, your work, and your will to keep going when it feels like nobody sees you. That's where people get it wrong. They think that if they just share their plans, someone will jump in with encouragement. They think support will show up the moment they declare their intentions. But the world doesn't operate like that. Life doesn't owe you motivation. Most people are too busy with their own battles to rally behind yours. And some, let's be honest, might even hope you fail just so they can feel better about staying the same. You've got to get comfortable building without applause, progressing without permission. You've got to stop expecting people to get it when it's your dream, your idea, your fire, not theirs. It's not their job to push you forward. It's your job to move, even when no one's watching. Especially then, there's power in not being noticed, in building in silence, because that's where real growth happens. It's when nobody's clapping that you find out what you're really made of. Are you doing it because you love it, because you believe in it, or were you just chasing recognition? Let me tell you something that'll save you years of frustration. Applause is temporary, approval fades. But results, they last. And results only come when you show up again and again without needing a pat on the back every step of the way. You don't need a fan club. You need self-respect. You need quiet confidence. You need the kind of inner fire that doesn't beg for attention, It burns because it refuses to go out. And when you build with that kind of drive, you don't wait for people to believe in you. You just believe in yourself and prove it with every action. So the next time you feel like nobody's cheering, good. That's the test. That's where the strong are separated from the talkers. Don't seek the claps, seek the craft. Master the process. Build when it's boring. Grind when it's lonely. And one day you'll look up and realize you built something unshakable, something undeniable. By then the world might start clapping, but by then you won't even need it, because you'll already know who you are. And that's more powerful than any crowd. Number 3, use the pain. Don't announce it. Pain is part of the journey. Struggle is part of the process. But here's the truth. Nobody wants to say out loud, your pain is not a performance. You don't need to broadcast your hardships to earn respect. In fact, the more you talk about how hard it is, the more power you give the struggle instead of the solution. People don't rise by explaining their pain. They rise by transforming it. When you hit a low point, whether it's financial, emotional, or personal, your first instinct might be to talk about it, to vent, to get sympathy. But sympathy won't build your future. It might feel good for a moment, but it won't change your life. Talking about pain without doing anything about it becomes a habit, and that habit keeps you stuck. You begin to identify with the pain instead of rising above it. The strongest people in the world don't talk about what they're going through. They get quiet and go to work. They turn the pain into fuel. They take the heartbreak, the failure, the betrayal, and they use it to light a fire so hot that no one can ignore the outcome. They don't whine. They don't complain. They don't explain. They just rise. You've got to make a decision. Will you use the pain to push you, or will you use it to pause you? Because that's what happens when you talk too much about it. You pause. You slow down. You wallow. And eventually, you get stuck in a story where you're always struggling, always hurting, always trying to explain what you've been through. But when you keep it to yourself, something powerful happens. You start to develop quiet resilience. You start to rely on your actions instead of others' approval. You don't need a microphone. You need a mission. And missions are fueled by discipline, not drama. There's a time to share your story, but it's not when you're in the middle of the storm. Share it after you've built something. Share it when your scars have become your strength. Share it when you've earned the right to speak from victory, not from victimhood. Until then, stay focused. Let the pain push you to the next level, not pull you into the past. Get back to work. Let your silence speak volumes. Let your effort be louder than your emotions. You don't owe the world an explanation for your suffering. You owe yourself a result. And when you stop announcing the pain, when you start using it instead of discussing it, you become unstoppable. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger in the shadows. That's the kind of strength that lasts. That's the kind of strength that wins. Number 4, your mission is not a meeting. Too many people treat their personal goals like open forums, constantly talking, constantly explaining, constantly inviting opinions. But here's the cold truth. Your mission isn't a team project, and it's not up for discussion. It doesn't need a vote. It doesn't need approval. It needs action, focus, and silence. When you share your mission too early, you dilute it. You give away the edge, the fire, the clarity. Suddenly you've got 5 people giving you advice who've never walked the path you're on. One says it's a bad idea. Another says it'll never work. And before you know it, you're questioning your own vision. Not because it was wrong, but because you let too many unqualified voices weigh in on something they didn't build. Your mission is personal. It came to you. You saw it. You felt it. And you have the responsibility to protect it, not parade it around like it needs a stamp of approval. Sharing too soon makes you vulnerable to doubt, distractions, and derailment. It opens the door to opinions that have no business being in your head. Think about the greats, the real doers, the ones who changed their lives or built something from nothing. They didn't host roundtables to get validation. They got to work. They didn't need a spotlight. They needed time, sweat, and solitude. Because that's where momentum is built, not in conversation, in commitment. And don't confuse silence with secrecy. This isn't about hiding your purpose. It's about guarding it, about holding it close until it's strong enough to stand on its own. It's about keeping the flame alive while you're still gathering wood. Because if you expose that flame too early, someone's careless words can snuff it out before it even has a chance to grow. You've got to become the kind of person who trusts their gut more than the noise around them. That takes discipline. That takes backbone. And it takes shutting your mouth when every part of you wants to tell the world what you're about to do. Don't build first. Talk later. Your mission doesn't need a meeting. It needs movement. It needs consistency. It needs your full attention, not divided by people's doubts, not diluted by over-explaining. You weren't put here to convince people. You were put here to become something. That doesn't happen in discussion. That happens in discipline. So the next time you feel the urge to announce your next big step, stop yourself. Remind yourself that your future is not a group assignment. It's your responsibility. And the more you protect it, the more power you'll have when it's time to reveal it. Not with words, but with results. Number 5, quiet plans move fast. When no one knows what you're building, they can't slow it down. That's one of the most overlooked truths in success. Silence isn't just protection. It's speed. You don't have to explain, you don't have to wait for opinions, and you don't have to navigate doubt. You just move. Quietly, quickly, intentionally. See, when you keep your plans to yourself, you cut out a layer of noise. No debates, no discouragement, no second guessing fueled by somebody else's fears. You stay locked in. And when you're locked in, you execute faster. Not because you're rushing, but because you're not wasting time defending your dream to people who don't understand it. Think about how much time people lose trying to justify what they're doing. They explain their goals to friends, to family, to coworkers, and what do they get? That's risky. That's unrealistic. You sure you can pull that off? That doubt seeps in. Even if you don't believe it at first, it slows you down. You hesitate. You stall, and that hesitation can kill a dream that needed momentum more than approval. But when you operate in silence, the only voice you hear is your own, and that's exactly what you need. You're not distracted by trying to look impressive. You're focused on being effective. You're not checking in to get validation. You're checking boxes, hitting targets, making real progress. You've got to treat your plans like a treasure map. Keep it close. Don't flash it around. Because the more people know, the more interference you invite. Not all of it is malicious, but even well-meaning advice can throw you off. One suggestion here, one doubtful comment there, and suddenly your clear vision is cloudy. That's why quiet plans win. They move under the radar. They grow in peace. And when it's time to show up, they arrive strong and undeniable. This doesn't mean you can't have mentors or guidance, but choose them wisely. Go to people who've walked the road, not those still standing at the starting line. And even then, share what's necessary. Not everything. There's power in privacy. There's speed in silence. Remember this, the more people you involve, the more friction you invite. The more friction, the more drag. But if you want to move fast, if you want to move far, cut the noise, zip your mouth. Keep your circle small and your actions sharp. Fast progress doesn't come from big announcements. It comes from quiet execution. Show up, do the work. And when it's ready, let your results walk into the room first. They speak louder than anything you could have said along the way. That's how quiet plans win. That's how you build something real, something lasting without ever slowing down to explain it. Number 6, confidence doesn't need a microphone. Real confidence doesn't need to be announced. It just is. It's not loud, it's not flashy, and it doesn't beg for attention. It moves with purpose. It walks into the room without needing to dominate it, and when it speaks, it doesn't talk about what it will do. It quietly proves what it has done. You've seen the loud ones. They talk big, always telling you what they're about to achieve, who they're going to be, what they've almost done. But when you look at their track record, there's not much to show. That's not confidence. That's noise, trying to fill the space where real results should be. The louder the talk, the more insecurity is usually hiding behind it. Confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself, from doing the work nobody sees, from showing up when no one's clapping, and pushing through when no one's watching. It comes from the discipline of effort, not the drama of attention. You don't build self-respect by talking. You build it by earning your own trust, day by day. You don't have to explain your value to the world. Let the way you carry yourself do the talking. Your habits, your attitude, your consistency, that's what speaks volumes. The best don't need to prove they belong. They walk in, sit down, and get to work. They let the results speak for them. Now here's where most people mess it up. They think silence means weakness. They assume if you're not constantly promoting yourself, you'll be overlooked. But that's not how real impact works. People respect the ones who don't need constant validation. They're drawn to those who are steady, reliable, and quietly exceptional. The ones who show up again and again without fanfare. There's something powerful about a person who doesn't chase attention, but commands respect just by how they operate. That's confidence. It doesn't have to be seen to be felt. It doesn't have to be explained to be understood. It's in how you move, how you focus, how you treat people, and how you handle your business without excuses. So the next time you feel the urge to prove yourself with words, pause. Ask yourself, is this confidence or insecurity talking? Let your work speak. Let your improvement be visible. Let your presence be enough. You don't need to post about every step. You don't need to impress people with promises. Just build. Just deliver. Just become. The loudest in the room are rarely the strongest. The strongest are too busy sharpening their craft, quietly, consistently, without distraction. That's the kind of confidence that lasts. That's the kind of confidence that doesn't need a microphone. It just gets the job done. And it lets the results do all the talking. Number 7. Let results speak louder than words. If you really want to make an impact in this world, stop telling people what you're going to do and start showing them what you've done. Nothing commands more respect than results. Not promises, not theories, not hype. Just cold, solid proof. That's what people believe. That's what gets remembered. Talk is cheap, and the market is flooded with it. Everywhere you look, someone's talking about what they're about to accomplish, about to get in shape, about to start a business, about to write a book. But here's the question. Where's the proof? Where's the finished product? Where's the consistency behind the claim? See, people spend too much time talking about the plan and not nearly enough time executing the plan. And that's where momentum dies. Because when you talk too early, your brain gets rewarded. You get that little hit of satisfaction, that imaginary sense of progress, without actually doing the work. It tricks you into feeling accomplished. And that feeling robs you of the fire you need to push forward. But results never lie. They don't need context. They don't need explanation. They speak for themselves. You don't have to convince anyone when you've built something real. You just show up, and the work you've done walks in before you. It earns the respect. It earns the trust. And it earns the right to be noticed. The key is to stay quiet while you're building. Let your focus do the heavy lifting. Let your routine handle the foundation. And when the time comes, your success will speak volumes. You won't need to say a word. People will see the change in how you move, how you carry yourself, how your life looks different. Because you did something, not because you talked about it. You've got to fall in love with the grind, not the glory. Let the results be the reward. Every early morning, every hard choice, every moment of silence, where you chose discipline over distraction. That's what leads to real progress. That's what puts you in a position where you don't have to talk big, because you've already done big. And when you're living in results, everything changes. People don't question you. They don't doubt you. They watch you. They study you. Because in a world full of noise, the one who moves with quiet proof stands out the most. So remember, next time you feel like explaining your dream, stop yourself. Let your next step be action, not words. Let your discipline carry more weight than your description. Talk less, do more. And when the time is right, let your results do the talking. For you, louder and clearer than anything you could ever say. Number 8, stop explaining. Start earning. At some point, you've got to stop explaining yourself to everyone around you. You've got to stop justifying your vision, your grind, your timing, because here's the truth. Most people aren't listening to understand. They're listening to judge, to doubt, or to compare your journey to their comfort zone. And if you spend all your energy trying to get people to get it, you'll run out of steam before you even get started. You don't owe anyone an explanation for chasing growth. You don't have to break down your schedule, your choices, or your sacrifices just to make others feel comfortable. If they don't see the value in what you're doing, that's not your problem. Your job isn't to convince them. It's to prove yourself right through results. See, every time you stop to explain, you're stepping out of your rhythm. You're slowing your momentum to soothe someone's opinion. But momentum is gold. You can't afford to break your stride every time someone raises an eyebrow. You can't afford to pause and answer the same questions over and over. Why are you doing this? Why don't you take a break? Are you sure it's worth it? Those questions aren't fuel, they're friction. The people who get ahead in life don't explain. They earn, they keep their heads down and let the scoreboard talk. They keep moving while others are still debating. And when the time comes, the outcome silences every critic. That's the power of proof. Not opinions, not conversations. Proof. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be rude or arrogant. You can still be kind. You can still be respectful. But you don't have to shrink your ambition just to make others understand it. You don't have to give a play-by-play of your journey. You're not running a press conference. You're running a race. And races are won by running, not explaining. The ones who succeed don't talk about their goals every day. They chase them. They don't give lectures about hard work. They live it. And when people finally see the results, they get it. They understand. But by then, you're already on to the next level. Because you didn't waste your time begging for belief. You built something that demands belief. So the next time someone asks you to explain why you're working so hard, why you've gone quiet, why you've changed your routine, just smile. Let them wonder. You've got nothing to prove to anyone but yourself. And once you start earning, really earning, your silence becomes your strength. Cut the chatter. Forget the explanations. Let your growth answer every question. Let your progress be louder than your reasons. From now on, stop explaining and start earning. That's how winners move. Quietly, boldly, unapologetically. Number 9. Keep the blueprint to yourself. When you've got something valuable, something powerful, something that could change your life, you protect it. You don't lay it out on the table for just anyone to see. And that includes your blueprint, your strategy, your routine, your system. Because the truth is, not everyone deserves access to your inner workings. Some will copy it, some will criticize it, and some will try to ruin it, just because they can. You don't see the master builders sharing their plans while the foundation's still being poured. They work quietly, they measure twice, and cut once. And when the structure rises, everyone sees the final result. But nobody knows the step-by-step. That's how it should be. Keep the mystery. Keep the advantage. In a world that pressures you to post every move, every update, every detail of your journey, it takes strength to stay silent. But silence is your shield. It guards your process. It keeps the distractions out and your focus in. When people don't know how you're doing it, they can't mess with it. They can't throw you off track. They can't dissect your method because they don't even see it. And let's be honest, most people aren't rooting for you to win anyway. Some are just watching so they can figure out how to beat you without doing the work. They want shortcuts. They want your recipe, but don't want your struggle. That's why your blueprint is sacred. You built it through trial, error, discipline, and pain. It's yours. It's your edge. Don't give it away for free. There's power in letting people see the result and not the process. Let them wonder. Let them guess. While they're trying to figure you out, you're already on to the next level. You're already improving, adapting, growing in silence. That's how momentum builds. That's how you stay 10 steps ahead. You don't need to prove how smart you are by explaining your methods. You don't need to impress anyone with your strategy. You need to execute. You need to keep showing up, doing the work, and letting the results show up with you. That's how people take notice. That's how you become undeniable. Not by sharing everything, but by building something so solid that it speaks for itself. So from now on, tighten your circle, guard your plan, keep your blueprint in your pocket, close to your chest. You're not being secretive, you're being strategic. There's a big difference. You're not hiding, you're protecting the most valuable thing you've got, the system that's taking you from where you are to where you're going. Don't ruin the magic by revealing the recipe. Let them taste the final product and wonder how you made it so good. Let your results shine while your process stays in the shadows. That's how real builders move. Quiet, focused, unstoppable. Number 10. Don't feed big dreams to small minds. If you've got a vision that's bigger than your current reality, guard it with your life. Because not everyone is equipped to handle big dreams. Some people don't have the mindset, the courage, or the imagination to see what you see. And if you share your dreams with them too early, they'll crush them without even trying. Not out of hate, but out of limitation. They're too small-minded to dream that big, so they try to shrink yours. Here's what happens when you tell the wrong people your plans. They project their fear onto you. They tell you to play it safe. They say things like, don't get your hopes up, or that's not realistic. But what they really mean is they couldn't do it, so you shouldn't try. That's not advice. That's self-doubt, wearing a friendly face. You've got to learn how to separate support from sabotage. Some people will smile while they speak doubt into your vision. Not because they want you to fail, but because your courage reminds them of their own hesitation. And when that happens, they'll chip away at your dream, little by little, until you stop believing in it yourself. That's why your dream doesn't belong in casual conversations. It's not something you throw around in small talk or drop into group chats. Your dream is sacred. It's meant to be nurtured, protected, and refined in silence. Only share it with people who've earned the right to hear it. People who build, who believe, who challenge you to go further, not pull you back. And even then, be selective, because your dream is still growing, still forming roots. If you expose it too soon, you risk pulling it out of the ground before it has a chance to bloom. Keep it close. Let it grow stronger in private, watered by your own belief and action. Small minds don't mean bad people. Sometimes it's the people closest to you, friends, family, co-workers, who mean well but just can't see what you see. Don't blame them. Just don't feed your future to someone who's never been hungry for more. They won't understand, and it's not your job to convince them. Instead, use their doubt as fuel. Let it push you to focus harder, work smarter, and rise higher. Prove them wrong, not with arguments, but with outcomes. Let your success become the evidence that your dream was never too big. It was just too bold for the wrong ears. So the next time you feel like sharing your dream, pause. Ask yourself, is this person capable of holding my vision with care, or will they poke holes in it out of fear? If they're not the right person, keep quiet. Build in silence. And when the time comes, let them witness what you never needed them to believe in. That's how you protect a big dream, by keeping it far from small minds. Number 11. Silence builds focus. Focus builds empires. There's a reason the most disciplined people in the world are often the quietest. It's not because they're shy. It's because they're focused. They're not wasting their energy explaining, complaining, or trying to impress anyone. They're locked in. They've built a mental wall around their time, and inside that wall is work, consistency, and a clear purpose. That kind of silence isn't emptiness, it's power. See, every time you open your mouth to talk about what you're about to do, you're borrowing energy from the work itself. Every conversation that distracts you, every explanation that pulls you away from your rhythm, it's a leak in your focus. And if you want to build anything that lasts, anything that matters, you need every drop of that focus. Discipline and distraction cannot live in the same room. You can't be fully committed to your craft while checking your phone every 10 minutes or explaining your goals to someone who doesn't even take you seriously. Focus requires isolation, mental isolation. Not loneliness, but the ability to turn down the volume on the outside world so you can turn up the volume on your inner drive. People underestimate what deep focus can do. In a world full of noise, being the person who shuts out the chaos and gets to work becomes your superpower. While others are broadcasting their every step, you're stacking quiet victories. While they're looking for applause, you're building something that will outlast their noise. It starts with protecting your time. That means cutting out unnecessary conversations. That means saying no more often. That means turning off the notifications, the distractions, and the temptation to explain yourself. Your time is not for sale. Your dream is not open for debate. You've got work to do, and that work deserves your full attention. And here's the best part. When you operate with that level of focus, everything changes. Your quality improves. Your confidence grows. You become sharper, faster, more reliable. You start to move differently, think differently, live differently. That's how people build empires. Not with noise, not with hype, but with consistent, focused action repeated in silence. If your life feels chaotic, it's not always because you're doing too much. Sometimes it's because you're talking too much. Too many opinions, too many voices, too much sharing. Cut it back. Get quiet. Get centered. Then go deep on the few things that truly matter. So remember, silence isn't weakness. It's discipline. It's clarity. It's the foundation of every great achievement. Don't waste your power trying to be seen. Use it to build something worth being seen for. Because silence builds focus, and focus day after day builds empires. Number 12. Loud talkers fade, quiet builders last. The flash always fades. That loud guy in the room, the one always talking about what he's going to do, what he's already done, how great he is, he gets the attention for a moment, but it never lasts. Because when it's time to deliver, noise doesn't get the job done. Discipline does, and discipline doesn't brag. It doesn't perform. It shows up quietly, day after day, doing what needs to be done long after the excitement has worn off. Loud talkers rely on hype. They need people to notice. They feed off the reaction. And that's the trap. Because once the applause dies down, so does their motivation. But quiet builders, they don't build for applause. They build because they said they would. They don't need a crowd. They need a mission. They stay steady. They stay focused. And that's why they outlast everyone else. You can always spot the difference. Loud talkers burn bright fast, but they burn out even faster. They chase shortcuts. They want quick wins. They want to look successful more than they want to be successful. Quiet builders, they take the stairs. No shortcuts, no fluff, just straight up effort and endurance. And while the loud ones fade out one by one, the quiet ones keep rising, unshaken, unstoppable. If you want to build something that lasts, don't fall into the trap of performance. Don't get caught up trying to impress people who won't be there when it gets hard. Instead, disappear into your craft. Get better while nobody's watching. Build the habits, the mindset, the routine. And when you're finally ready to show what you've done, it won't be noise. It'll be undeniable proof that while others were talking, you were building something real. Because here's the truth. The ones who win big are almost never the ones shouting the loudest in the beginning. They're the ones who made a quiet decision, kept their head down, and worked while nobody believed in them. They let the results speak, years later. They let their lives become the announcement. So if you're not being noticed right now, that's okay. That's actually good. Use the silence. Use the obscurity. Let it shape you. Let it strengthen you. Because when you finally step into the light, you'll have something real to show. Something the world can't ignore. Not because it was loud, but because it was built to last. Talkers fade. Builders remain. Be the one who stayed consistent. Be the one who didn't need the spotlight. Be the one who built the kind of life that doesn't need an introduction. In the end, the noise will die down. The showboaters will disappear. But the quiet builders, they'll still be standing, strong, solid, and successful. Not because they talked about it, but because they built it. And they kept building long after everyone else stopped. By now you've heard the truth that most people run from. The less you say, the more you keep. In a world obsessed with talking, posting, sharing, and proving, the real power lies with those who choose silence. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they're too focused on building something that will say everything for them. The people who truly win in life don't chase attention. They chase results. They don't waste their breath describing what they're about to do. They put their head down and do it. And when they finally arrive, they don't need to announce themselves. Their results speak louder than words ever could. You've got to understand, there's strength in restraint. There's energy in silence. Every time you resist the urge to talk about your plans, your pain, or your progress, you're storing up power. You're holding on to your edge. You're guarding your mission. And while everyone else is leaking their momentum for the sake of applause, you're building in peace, without noise, without distraction. This discipline isn't easy, but it's necessary. Because loud talkers burn out, overshares stall, and explainers spend more time convincing than creating. But you're different now. You've chosen the path of the quiet builder, the one who doesn't just dream but delivers, the one who doesn't just talk but transforms. From this moment on, you don't need to prove anything. Not to your friends, not to your family, not to strangers. You owe no one an explanation for your goals, your grind, or your silence. What you owe is effort. What you owe is consistency. What you owe is proof. And that proof won't come from speaking. It'll come from showing. From letting your life become the loudest thing about you. From letting your progress become impossible to ignore. So zip your mouth, protect your fire, move in silence. And when the time is right, let the results speak. That's how legacies are built. That's how real success is earned. Quietly, steadily, unapologetically.